ומטה יש להבין דרך פרט מבחינת שורש האיסיס המחשבה דבינה התבונה בליח ולא בעת מבוא בזוהר בכמה דוכתא דהית מחשבה והית מחשבה. ולדהיינו מבחינת מחשבה סתימה דרך אנפי מחשבה הקדומה דאק וכאי גבנה והעניין הוא דהרוצן נקרא גם כמשם מחשב בלושן הקודש. Can we do this?
Yeah, do it again.
So we
did the beginning.
We only did a little bit.
כמו כאשר חושב כאשר רוצה. זה ידוע. כי הרוצן מלובש מיד במחשבה שבמייח, על כן הרוצן המחשבה של הרוצן אחד הוא. ונקרא מחשבה בשם רוצן, והרוצן בשם מחשבה, like מחשבה הקדומה, זה רוצן הקודם. כמו כאשר עלה ברצונו, היינו כשעלה במחשב תחולו, נקרא מחשבה סימן. על שם בחינת ההלם של הרוצן, על כן המחשבה שבו הרוצן הוא גם כן בהלם וסימוס. זה נקרא מחשבה סימן. והוא בחינת איסיס הרוצן הנ"ל. That's the letters of the רוצן. That's the letters that say what the רוצן is. אך הנה בחינת המחשבה הקדומה הוא מקדם לרוצן הנעלם. It's even before the Ratzon HaNelam. That's even before the Ratzon LaRatzon, in other words. Hu HaMokar LaRatzon HaNelam Shnikra Ratzon LaRatzon. Of Ak. Ulu Begam Zeh Pchinat Machshava. But this is also a Machshava. Shemubash Bar Ratzon HaKodum. That's it's called the Ratzon HaKodum or the Machshava Kaduma. Shekodum LaKol Ratzon LaRatzon. Moshem Vor Bot Yitzayin. And this is all explained earlier. But now he's explaining it's called the Ratzon. If it's called the Ratzon, it's also called a Machshava on any level. אבל נקרא בשם מחשבה הקדומה. Called מחשבה הקדומה, and some places it's called the רוצן הקודם. וכך יובן עד רם המיילוס, and this keeps going up and up. גם במחשבה the רוצן הפושט שבעצמת ממש. The רוצן הפושט, when you say it is a רוצן הפושט, means in מחשבה פשוטה. הנ"ל באות י', when he taught, an emloch זה מחשבה. והנה אנו רואים שהרוצן הבא פתאום במויח הוא בא בגידה המויח במחשבה פשוטה ולא מורכבת מאיסיס כלל. כי באמת אין לרוצן בחינת כלי כשאר האיסיס כמו אור השכל בכלי המויח, which right now he's saying exactly the opposite of what he was saying before. He was just saying that you can't have that a Ratzon is a Machshava, and a Machshava is a Ratzon. Now he's saying when the Ratzon comes into the brain, it's coming without Oisius. So how is that possible? He just said that a Ratzon is Davka Machshava, and a Machshava is a Ratzon, and they're interchangeable almost. But it means it's not the same thing. It's not really Kalim. Those oisius are really the etzem harotzin, like the machshava pshuta, the same thing like the oisius. And all the levels where it says in the atmos, because the rotzin is still not really outside of the atmos yet. Both the rotzin and the tainug is like almost like part of the atmos actually, even all the way down to atik and arach. In other words, that the letters of the rotzin is not like a regular letters of machshava, where the machshava is just a keli to hold the thing. But it's mamish the same thing. That is the ratzon. That machshava is the ratzon. Ach begidei hamoyach. It comes rather. It's not like letters that come into the sefer, but rather it's a ratzon that goes into the Gidei HaMoyach, and you can't say it's totally without letters, like it says without letters, but nonetheless, you see that when it goes into the nerves and does whatever he wants to do immediately, you notice that the movement is defined. He knows exactly what it is that he wanted to do, like if he wants to reach for a piece of bread, he reaches exactly for the piece of bread. That means it's totally defined in letters, all the way down to the letters of Asiyah. So, when he says it doesn't have letters, you have to understand how to take it. You know, it's like the thing that Sud once told me about that, he was learning with some bacher, and they got to the part where it says that Chochmah had dimensions. And he says, no, that can't be true, because he heard that Chochmah is an Akuda and it has no dimensions. So, first of all, I mean, what do you mean? You're arguing with the Mittler Rebbe, and basically, like, you'll see places where it says Chochmah also doesn't have letters. Where here he's saying, you notice what he's saying here, he's saying that not like the Chochmah, like the Oisis Ora Seichel, the Kli HaMoyach, Seichel is Chochmah. Because that doesn't have, the Ratzon doesn't have letters like the Chochmah does. And in other places it says like the whole thing of the Chochmah is how the Machshava comes before the letters. So it's not really so much letters, that the letters are not really like separate things of Kalim here. Ach Begida HaMoyach, Nikra Nervin Hadakim B'Yisra, the nerves, Shemehen Koach HaTnuah V'Koach HaHergish B'Avorim Ke'Yadua, that in the nerve, from the nerve comes two powers, the power of movement and the power of feeling. You feel through your nerves. Mitpashet Koach Ha'Rotzen, Gam Liyos HaAvorim Nishmoin Le'Tzad Nishmoyach, Moin Lifshet Yadav V'Ragloi, like to stretch his hand or his foot, like when he wants to go somewhere, so his feet start walking. But you notice that even though it says that like the Ratzon comes like a simple machshava, like it says machshava pshuta lomo kevet ma'osis fal. How could you have the whole inyan of machshava is oisius? Not only that, like it says, he makes it move.
Right.
He makes it move. But you notice that the movement is exact. The movement, you notice that by a person, a movement is totally predefined. It's not that he sort of just moves. He knows exactly what he wants and grabs it. Look, Ola Kulam Rak Alpi Arotzen Shoel V'Mayach Pitam Ke'Yadua, and the Rotzen comes in the Mayach Pitam, like instantly, as is known. That's one kind of machshava, which is the machshava of Ratzon. The Indiyesh machshava acher b'pchinas oisis machshava mamish, and this is mamish in the way of oisis machshava, meaning of a separate machshava of oisius. Where in the Ratzon, the oisius of the Ratzon is mamish the Ratzon. That is the Ratzon. In the machshava, there's various machshavas that you think the thing over with, that when you think it, and then like the basic way that a person thinks is he thinks and then he discards. So, like you think, well, is it like this? No, it can't be like that. So maybe it's like this? So no, it can't be like that. That's basically how logically you think.
Right.
Like the whole thing of logic, you figure, so you have a certain svara, so then you think, so therefore it would it work like this? And you think about it, you say, no, so you take a machshava and you think it, and then you discard it. So it means that you see that the machshava with its oisius is lav davka from the etzem of the seichel, but is rather an external keli to it. And that's what it means, that it actually has letters. It's the actual machshava. Whereas the other machshava is not a separate machshava. That is the Ratzon. The Ratzon is the machshava, and the machshava is the Ratzon.
Right.
הנה יש מחשבה אחרת, מבחינת oisis המחשבה ממש, והוא בא על זה מבחינת בינה והשגה תחילה. This comes through, first of all, an explanation and a reach, meaning this thing of the logical, Shenikra machshava iyunis, like we said, this guy thinks so therefore it would have to be like this, or wait a minute, maybe not, Machshava iyunis means he takes and he analyzes the thing. First of all, he cuts it up into its separate parts, and then he comes up with svaras. And then he takes the svara and sees if it works. Like in the Talmud, you say, so if it's like this, so the guy says, so I have a svara. A svara is a theory, basically. And what this is actually, is basically, this is what we call iyun is actually the scientific method. When people say science, there's no such thing as science, really. If you look at the scientists, if you know, like the thing is, most people who believe in science never really learned science. It just so happens that I learned science. I was a chemistry honor student in McGill. So I know there's really no such thing as science. Science does not come up with actual things, because first of all, the science that we're talking about only comes from Nehi of Arif. It's not the real inner thing where it comes from Mazolis. It's only into the world. And what it is this. They come up with a theory, and then they test it. And that's the scientific method, basically. So the thing is really, you see in the Talmud, basically, that's also how they do it. You know, they come up with like if you look in, you know what they start little kids off with, Elam Matzias?
Right.
So they come up with a tashma. Tashma is coming here. So the thing is like this. Basically, like the first thing is there's two theories. The one is the Rabban Abaye, and one says that Yush Shalomidas is still a good Yush, and one says Yush Shalomidas is a good Yush. Then they come and say, Tashma, look at this. Here's an application. You know, if you find money, so if you find money, you're allowed to keep it. So this proves, he's telling the other guy, this proves that Yush Shalomidas is a good Yush. Because here you found money and you can keep it. And how do you know? Maybe the guy lost the money and he doesn't know that he lost it yet. So this proves that my theory is correct and a Yush Shalomidas is a good Yush. So the other guy answers, no, it doesn't prove nothing, because a person is made in a way that he always fills his pocket.
Now, mamash
is mamashmish in his pocket. So if he lost money, he's going to know it, and it's a Yush Midas. So therefore, it doesn't prove your opinion at all. It doesn't prove your svara. It doesn't disprove it. In other words, it doesn't prove my svara either. All it proves is nothing. Why? Because a yush on money is a yush midas, and we're talking about a yush shalomidas. So you thought you're bringing up a yush shalomidas, but really it's a yush midas. And that's the inyan of the svara. And there's a svara, there's two svaras, and the what do you call it? The
they fight it out.
But you don't have to have a fighting it out. It's basically a svara, and then a person can have it in his own brain. He says, "Oh, so look at that. That proves it." Oh, wait, no, it doesn't prove it, because really, when a person loses money, it's not a Yush Shalomidas. It doesn't prove nothing about the Yush Shalomidas, because that's not what it is.
Right.
And that's it. So, in other words, the machshava, he picked up the machshava and then discarded it.
Right.
Not only that, the machshava, when it came, the machshava relating to money was a totally external machshava, which had nothing to do with the internal seichel of Yush Shalomidas. It was an application. Like a test, basically. It's a scientific test. You take the svara and you try it out. You know, like you say that you know, like the famous scientific test in Helm. You know which side the bread is buttered.
Right.
You know that if the bread is buttered, you know, if he says that the bread always falls down on the buttered side, and he says the bread always falls down on the unbuttered side. So what did they do? They did a scientific experiment. They took a piece of bread and they buttered it, and it fell down, and it fell down on the buttered side. And the guy said, "Hey, you buttered it on the wrong side."
Right.
You know. So the basic thing, now we're talking, this is the machshava of Iyun. And the machshava of Iyun can also go, it can go from, like we said, in terms of the scientific method, it's only going on a seichel that's coming out of Nehi of Arich. They just want to find out what's going on in the world. They're not looking into the inner thing of the Glif Glifel. So this is called Machshava Iyun. This is Moshe and the Roin, the Kol Sechel, Svara, B'Shas Kolosei, Yusag B'Moyach Bina, B'Losh Nidish Verstand, in the brain of understanding. Ba Miyad B'Iyun HaMachshava. Right away it will come in Iyun HaMachshava, and Nikr Machshava Seichel. Right away it will come into all kinds of Machshavas like that. V'hu Koyach Machshava Iyun is Lahachil Kol HaIyun Sichli Dasa. She'ein bo Ratzon Klal. There's no actual Ratzon in this. Even though, I mean, of course, there is a Ratzon. There's a Ratzon to understand. But in the Machshava itself, there's no actual Ratzon. In other words, when he says, oh, so look at when you find money, he doesn't necessarily want to he doesn't necessarily even want to prove necessarily that really it's the way he's saying. That's not a real Ratzon of understanding. Then it's not really understanding. That's already a thing of Igulim. Where a Ratzon, that's a Sheikhat. That's what a Ratzon is, turning the Seichel to come up with the thing to prove his point. But a real Ratzon of understanding has to be open to whatever is going to come out.
Right.
And the reason he's doing the scientific experiment is not because he dafka wants it to come out like that. It's not like the scientists that work for a cigarette company. They're doing this scientific experiment. They want to prove that, cigarettes are good for you,
Right.
But a real seichel is not like that. And a real seichel, and that's what you see, there's one place there where Abaye answers for Rav. He brings up a thing, and he gives the teretz against it.
Right.
Against his own thing. So how come he's giving the teretz against his own thing? Because really there's no Ratzon to prove that it's like me. A real seichel, even though there is a Ratzon, if there was no Ratzon, then that's why the seichel comes out of Arif. It has to be a Ratzon to understand. But nonetheless, it's the machshava Iyun itself is really a machshava of seichel, not of Ratzon at all. It's not a Ratzon, it's an intellect. And it doesn't go into the Gidei HaMoyach, it doesn't go into the nerves to do something. Rather than it's actually in the Moyach Habina, in the lobes of the brain, basically. דהיינו בכלי הסוג והעוונה של השכל עצמה, יש שם כלי למחשבה עיונית של כל הסוג השכליס. והוא בחינת מלכוס התבונה. This מחשבה עיונית comes from מלכוס התבונה, where the letters come out. דהיינו סוף מדרגס עיר הסוגה בעצם, המביא להסוגה בעניין הנבדל, הנ"ל בייס. משם נעשה כוח מחשבה שכל הנ"ל. From there comes the Machshava Seichel, which holds the Machshava Iyunis. It first comes in a way of before the machshava yunis. Anikra der Vernehmen in Verstand aligned. The actual way that the take that he has on it. In other words, before they actually argued, there's a certain take that Abaya has and a certain take that Rabbah has. The take that he sees it in a way that he sees it that a Yehush Shalom Edas is a Yehush, and he sees it that it's not a Yehush. That's the take they have, and that's even before the Machshava unit. And no, it's not even the svara. What the reason why they have that take, or why they see it that way. But the actual machshava comes out of Malchus of Tvuna.
Right.
And immediately it's mitpashet into machshava yunis, which is malubas the machshava seichel. V'zeh p'chinas Malchus the Tvuna shlemayla mepchinas oisis l'machshava shnikas leya. But the actual Malchus of Tvuna is still really part of the seichel, which is just above the actual oisis of the machshava, which is called leah, which leah means the actual literal letters. The same like in this book, there's the literal letters. Yadua b'inyan dalas shabasi the echad, for lushahu p'chinas Malchus Tvuna sh'macharayim de'imachul. Shemisham shoyvish hishabus ha'machshava b'oisis mamish k'moshem v'or b'makmachas. It's from Malchus Tvuna is the shoyvish of the machshava coming into mamish external oisius, as is explained elsewhere in this book. Upinas haskola atzmis hamuseged ba'asoga ba'avona. And the actual haskola atzmis means the actual inner seichel of what he actually understands. Dabkenikras machshava, it's also called thought. Like you say, he's thinking. Thinking doesn't necessarily mean when you say he's thinking, it's not only referring to the external mamish letters of the machshava, but it refers also to the inner intellectual process of Chochmah and Bina. You also say he's thinking. He's thinking, right?
Right.
It's also called machshava.
Right.
Where is this?
Ach, zehu bechinat Pashut or HaChochmah.
Yeah, ach ze, ubchinat itpastus yesh or HaChochmah. This inner thinking of Bina. Not only that, the spreading out of the somethingness of the light of Chochmah, Nikra Cheshev Ma, the thinking of the Ma of Chochmah, Machshava, Cheshev Ma. V'yesh, Pinat Nimius Machshava de Bina, the law, Mishtamish, is that Mishtamish?
Mishtama.
Mishtama, Gam b'Machshava Seichel, Lavo l'klal oisius klal b'Machshava. V'hu, K'moi b'chinas oimek ha'musach, shalom nitpas gam b'asov gal Machshava de Bina kai gadna. B'nikra mi, the law kaim l'shela k'moi shemuvar b'mokmach v'dayla mevin. In other words, there's the actual inner essence of the understanding, which is really the seichel itself. It's not the machshava, it's not the letter. It's the intellect that understands these letters.
Right.
And that's the actual oimek hamusag of the thing of how he understands it in terms of the oimek hamusag. And you'd say, well, there it's like not letters, but even there really there is letters. And that's also called thought.
Right.
Zyla Maven. וזהו is machshava sima sheberotzen now, or machshava iyun is the bina. So that's is machshava. There's two kind of machshava. There's the hidden machshava in the rotzen now, and the machshava iyun is the bina. Balik lal pinas eisit the machshava mamish that comes into mamish letters machshava shnikra leah. V'kol zeh yesh gam barotzen shelamayla min haseichel, and this is also exists higher than the seichel altogether. Zahainu prinat bina sima darech anpin. Through prinat machshava niloma barotzen anelam. Moshe es seichel v'chochma darech anpin. Anelam mikol rayon anelam. V'hu prinat chochma sima darech anpin. Anikra tam komus larotzen. Yadua. Tach yesh prinat bina sima chulu. The same thing like the chochma sima is a bina sima. Rual derech ma means the inner bina. Rual derech ma shanarayim ha'efresh ben beis mina machshavas hanal. Begilui shehu berotzen haba begilui b'moyach sheyesh rotzen shebegidei ha'moyach shenikra machshavas sima'a al shem ha'elem shel zeh ha'rotzen shebemoyach terem sheba l'chochma bina chulu. Machshava iyunis shu b'chinas yesh de'ein the chochma, that's the somethingness of the ein of chochma. Not that it's not a machshava that makes anything happen. It's a machshava that turns finally into letters. We'll see on now. Ba'islam it says, B'sherish harishain shala'esis the machshava be'etzem ha'nefesh mamish hariyeh sherish la'esis the machshava l'bina gamkin be'etzem ha'nefesh k'mo sheyesh eres la'esis ha'rotzen abayim begidei ha'moyach ka'agavna. And both of these have a root in the etzem ha'nefesh. So it goes all the way. This one goes to the rotzen in the etzem ha'nefesh, and this one goes into the bina of the etzem ha'nefesh. That's the ba lebchinat gilui l'rotzen. The ba lebchinat gilui is the bina amusag ba'asagat seichel. This one comes revealed into a rotzen, and this one comes revealed into an intellect. V'amnam hari an rein the masha ele b'tzeina machshavtei. Hu asher ba at oishis ha'machshava debina. But however, we see Kudafka what comes up in his rotzen, that's what will come into the machshava of bina. In other words, what's he going to think about? Dafka what he wants. In other words, if he wants to have a business, that's what he'll think about with his intellect. If he wants to be a chassid and learn about God and stuff like that, so that's what he'll think about.
Right.
You know, if he wants to be a conqueror, so he'll think about, he'll do, you know, and if he wants to play football, so he'll think about different strategies on how to win a football game.
Right.
What he wants, even though you say is machshava, but nonetheless you see that after the machshava of rotzen is what causes the machshava of bina.
Right.
That since that's what he wants, so that's what he thinks about. He thinks about what he wants. Shenimshach chinas haros machshava hanelam machshava gluya debina. You see that the hidden machshava comes into the revealed machshava. That's what comes into the real. Then that's why we said that the shirish of the seichel is an arif.
Right.
What do you mean the shirish of the seichel is an arif? It's like two different things. In other words, one of the main problems people have when they start with Chassidus and Kabbalah is what does it mean? I mean the rotzen, and then from the rotzen comes the chokhmah, and from the chokhmah comes the bina. So okay, I can see how from the bina comes the chokhmah, comes the bina. Chokhmah is the generalized overview of the whole thing, and bina is the separate analysis. So that I can see. Also, like you can see, let's say I can see how midos come out of seichel. That when you figure out something is good, so you like it. A according to your logic, you find out that it's good, or according to your logic, you see that you say, well, he did this and he did that. Is he doing me a favor, or is he trying to skank me? And then when you figure that he's doing you a favor, you say, oh, so I like him, or vice versa. So we can see how the midos come out of seichel. That makes sense. But how does seichel come out of ratzon?
Right.
So the thing is, this is how it comes out of ratzon. You see that what he wants, that's what he's going to think about. In other words, a guy who wants to make money is not going to sit around and think these things.
Right.
He's going to sit around and he's going to make all kinds of analysis. He'll be interested in analysis of what do you think? Maybe the stock market will go up. You think I should go into this, or should I buy houses? And that's what he's going to think about with a machshava of oisius.
Right.
He'll think about dafka what he wants. That's what he wants. That's what he wants. That's what he's going to think about.
Right.
וזהו עניין אהיה אשר אהיה. והתגלו כסר הכללי דרך אנטים בבחינה בכסר הפרוסי שהוא בבינה. That the general אהיה of the כסר הכללי gets revealed into the אהיה and the כסר הפרטי, which is bina. That's why bina is called the כסר הפרטי. כתוב המבואר במקום אחר, בעניין ועבד הלוי, הוא דהתגלוס עתיק יומים בבינה דווקא. The revelation of the Tainug is Dafka and Bina. That the Ratzon is also according to the Tainug, because that's what he has a Tainug in, so that's what he's going to think about. So who inyan